All right, I'm back. And actually, I am feeling like I'm going to talk a little bit about, waking up. Yeah. I just feel like there's some energy this week. There's some stuff in the air, basically, about kind of ascension symptoms, and or about just like what you might experience when you're starting to wake up to your gifts, wake up to who you are, wake up to spirit/source, all the things. Hello again. And I feel like, I feel like I should talk some more about it. So, like I said, I welcome lurking. I'm glad you were lurking. Glad you got to just kind of be in the space and enjoy kind of the energy flowing through. But let me just see how this wants to come through for a second. Honestly, I think I'm just going to share a little story, because whenever I was starting to wake up to my gifts, and wake up to just like owning who I was, and owning, now being here on Twitch streaming as a psychic channeler and Reiki master, I didn't just like wake up and be like, yeah, that sounds good. I mean, I eventually did, but when I first started, I was like, this was not in my cards for, this was not on my bingo card for what I thought I was going to do in my life. And it's just like, as I had started to tap into my intuition, and I had taken an intuition development course by someone who I had gone to like one or two like healing like circle events with, and I felt a lot of validity and trust in everything that she was doing, and so I was like, okay, I'll go. I'll sign up for this course. Like, I was feeling really interested in it, and so I did that course, and I actually ended up going on and doing like the like individual coaching afterwards. So it was like, originally it's like group stuff where you learn about your spirit team and everything else, and you learn about the different type of clairs and gifts, and you practice together, and all that good stuff. Like, it was great. But as I was waking up to my own gifts, I was like, I kept receiving these messages of like, like, you're super powerful, or you're this powerful witch, or like, and I was having these like wild ass experiences in meditations and my dreams, and then it got to the point where, well, hold on. Yeah, or it was like, I'd see different things, and I'd hear different things, and I could feel it in my body, where it was like, I could tell that was a message that was trying to like come through to me. And one of which I'll share, but I will preface by saying I don't subscribe by this label, so don't mishear me when I say this. But one of the messages I was receiving during my like waking up period of over a couple months was that I was the Messiah. And I laugh at that because, one, I have a little bit of a religious background, but I leaned more on my husband to tell me exactly like what that would have meant. And I love that the synchronicity is coming through, Janine, where you were just about to ask me how I got started. Yeah, it was basically this. So it was like, I had gone through a ton of different healing. I really learned to connect with my mind and my body. body specifically, I was using like S factor movement, and then which is more like somatic movement. So I did a lot of dance classes. I did a lot of pole dancing, burlesque, S factor, like those different types of things. And then that allowed me to start to connect with, you know, my internal spirit, which then allowed me to go on to connect with my intuition and develop my intuition. And really, my intuition has just been guiding me ever since. But yeah, like I was saying, I was getting the message that I was the Messiah, and I was like, this is crazy. What, like, who am I to stake that claim? And then even when I went through my like Kundalini awakening last year, I got the same message then too. It was like, you are the Messiah, and it was like an angel came down and all of these things. And I remember I was super like tripped out where I was like, what is happening? And it was like, this is your mission. Like, this is your purpose. And I told a couple people about it, and rightfully so, they were concerned for my mental health. Like, I get it. Having not been in this space or not really explored their own intuition, they took it as, you know, I'm psychotic or going through like psychosis or whatever. But gratefully, I was working with my coach at the time, and also I knew what I was going through. I had been guided to research what it looked like to be like a spiritual awakening versus a Kundalini awakening, and like kind of the differences. So I had an idea of what I was going through. It was just trying to make sure I had the tools to navigate them was complicated, or maybe not complicated, but it, like, you know, took some time. Definitely required a decent amount of grounding. And I do have an older brother who is a paramedic and also going to nursing school and all the things, or like a flight paramedic. And so he called and did like a wellness check on me because I was living alone at the time. And they were like, I'll come back to that in just a second, but he did a wellness check on me, and I'm like, I know what I'm going through. I'm good. I understand. I'm getting the message that I'm the Messiah, but I know, like, give me a few days. Like, I'm all right. I'm not going to hurt anyone. I'm not trying to start a cult. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not a danger to anyone or myself. Just like, give me a minute. Like, I know what I'm going through. And, you know, he eventually calmed down. He's like, okay, you're fine. Or like, I convinced him enough that he let it go or dropped it. But yeah, a lot of people in my life did not know or did not understand. But to answer your question of if I experienced any physical symptoms during my like Kundalini awakening, yes. Yes. The day it like kicked off, hold on. It's like the day it kicked off for me, I barely ate because I felt like I needed to just like keep writing, and writing kept me in like a meditative state to keep receiving. But I had a lot of pain on my back, and it felt like it was just like down my entire back. And it felt like, I mean, the message I was getting at the time was like they were repairing something that had been like torn. And so like that's what it felt like. It was like I felt like I was getting like energetic surgery of being performed on my back muscles. That was the main thing I felt for the most part. But then, like, mentally speaking, I was so floaty. My brain was just like, like, it just felt like I was very buzzing. And there was a period, so I had the day that I was going through the awakening. I didn't talk to anyone the day that it was like actually happening. And then that night when I finally got to go to sleep, I ended up waking up in the night and I was like kind of having like that vertigo, dizzy feeling. I think I got nauseous a little bit, which I think I was glad that I didn't eat a ton in guidance of not being told to eat a ton because of all of the energy that was happening. It was just I was like, the room was spinning at times, or it felt like it was spinning at times. So yeah, there was some nausea in there. There was some definitely some fatigue, definitely very brain buzzy. The back was probably the most painful for me, as like I said, as I was waking up. You said, I'm so glad you listened to your inner voice and decided to take on this journey. People would be so proud of how far you come. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that a lot. That hits home because to share even more vulnerably, I had my wedding anniversary this weekend and we renewed our vows, but in doing so, like, we invited a bunch of people and none of my biological family showed. We had some friends show and we had my in-laws showed. But I don't know. So your message of people around me being proud, I'm like, thanks. You've heard some crazy stuff about people experiencing jaw or neck locks during their Kundalini awakening. Yeah, I know it's I know it can be intense if you're not ready for it. I also knew, like, I had a sense about 3 months before it happened that it was coming. I had been feeling it was coming. I was like, I knew an awakening of sorts was coming. I didn't know exactly it was a Kundalini awakening at the time, but like, I knew an awakening was coming. I knew it was important for it not to happen until like the right time. Like, if you try to force it, it'll probably end up being even more painful, because your body is just like, how do I want to put it? It's like it's a very big influx of energy. And so if it comes, I'd say too soon, but if it comes at a time that you haven't like worked through everything and are ready to, and it's not even everything, but if you're not to a point where you're ready to like surrender to the surrender to the energy coming in, surrendering to your intuition, surrendering to guidance, it will probably be more resistant and more, I want to say dirty, but it's like more grimy. I don't know if that's a good analogy or not. Oh, welcome to the chat, invisible audience. Good to see you again. We'll jump to you here shortly. But yeah, it's the making sure that you have people around you that you can turn to when you're going through something like that is huge. I was so grateful I had my like spiritual coach to help guide me through it, and also, and that was actually where these like boundary books came out of, really, was the fact that the awakening basically just like blasts you open to all of the things. And mind you, Like that first like 36 hours was definitely the wildest time of my life, let me tell you. And I didn't harm anyone. I didn't harm myself. I didn't go and do anything that would cause harm. But I definitely was like, yeah, sure, I'm hearing this voice. Let me go do that. Like, and it was really just like, yeah, it was like my spiritual coach's higher self had come to me and was like, meet me here. And I was like, what? Okay. And then, like, nothing. She wasn't there. I ended up texting her, or like I was like voice memo chatting with her about it. And I was like, what? She's like, yeah, that happened to me too. Or like similar things happened where it's just like you get blasted open and then all of a sudden it's like, I'm in surrender. I'm just going to go with the flow. Like, yeah, I should go do this. And it's like, okay, hold on. Like, and everyone, like, time out. And that's where everyone starts to and has to learn the lesson for themselves. Like, I can tell you need to learn discernment, but you're not going to learn discernment or not truly know discernment until, like, you experience the funny, random, goofy shit. Like, and that's where I ended up bringing starting that boundary book was just so I could put boundaries on my channel, so that I made sure during that period of time when I was going through my awakening, and even now, but like it was super important during the awakening period, so that way I knew I was only talking to my higher self and source, and I didn't have anyone else coming in. I was like, no one else is allowed through right now. I need a few weeks of just me and source and higher self time to figure out like what this is, what this means for me. So and the other thing too there is like the boundary books were, do I want to share that? Yeah, like setting boundaries was my spiritual coach's like idea was, and she shared that too. It was just like, yeah, put boundaries on your channel. And I was like, I didn't know you could do that. And now here I am. I'm like, that's a great idea. Like, let's here, books, boundary books. Yeah. But anyways, before I do any readings, are there any other like questions you might have about the Kundalini awakening? I know I also have some other resources, I think, on my website, like that quiz, the quiz that's on my website of like, where do you need more love? Depending on where you score, there is a prompt for, if you haven't already had one, a Kundalini awakening might be near, and has some links. And I think the links out to one of the blog posts I wrote about meeting the universal consciousness. And then I think probably some of the meditations and stuff too, where it's just like, oh, it's so important to ground. And you'll read everywhere how important it is to ground. And also, once you're in it, you're like, I can't freaking ground. So I remember myself like going outside, like it was the middle of freaking winter, and so I'm outside barefoot with a blanket on in the like frosty grass, like, I am grounding. I'm like, I'm sending my energy down. I am grounding. I'm connected to earth. Like, I am just like, yeah, I get that people probably, if there are neighbors looking, they're like, what the fuck is she doing? But it helped. So, yeah. We all go through our own journeys on it. We all experience what we're meant to experience. It's just, know that I am a resource. And if you are about to go through one, or if you do go through one, please remember, I am a resource. So, you said, how much has life changed since my Kundalini awakening? so much. So much. I feel like I am a different woman. So much so that, I mean, I changed my first name legally because I was like, like my old name, my birth name that I was given just like does not, like, I don't like being called it anymore. Like, it doesn't resonate. It feels like a dead version of myself. I still honor it. Like, I'm learning to honor it and integrate that part of me because it was a part of my journey. But like, I legally changed my first name. My like job, career, everything has shifted since then because, like I said, up until that point I didn't quite know that I was going to be a psychic channeler. Up until that point I was doing a lot of like life coaching and hold on. I was doing a lot of life coaching and like movement instruction. And it wasn't until after my awakening that I was like, oh, no, like I actually have these other gifts that I'm meant to do or use. And really it's just kind of unfolded naturally since then, where I finally decided to step into, or like Spirit was like, you're a psychic channeler. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. At least in the beginning, I didn't know what that meant. But sure, I haven't heard that one. I haven't seen that one around. And then more recently, I completed my Reiki Mastery certification. And so now it's just like, it's all coming together. It's all culminating into some beautiful offering that has yet to be fully realized. But I also like, I have the sense of what it is, or I have a sense of the bigness of it. And I've had a sense for a while of the bigness of it. It's just, you know, riding that wave, riding that current, going with the flow and seeing how it unfolds. But oh yeah, it's gonna be big. But it's also so cool, and I'm so grateful, and I'm so excited. My relationship completely changed, or like my relationship with my husband completely changed, like for the better. That's why we renewed our vows this year, was just because it was just like, we're two totally different people now from when we got married. I'm like, do I have anything more to say about that? No, I think that's good. Yeah, thanks for listening about to all of that. That was good. All right, let me